There's a specific kind of frustration that doesn't get talked about enough. It's not the panic of being behind on bills. It's not the chaos of financial mistakes piling up. It's that quieter feeling. You're working. You're paying your rent. You're not reckless with money. You might even be saving a little. And yet, you still feel broke. Not on paper, but emotionally. You look around and think, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, so why does it still feel like I'm barely holding it together? Why does progress feel invisible? Why does money still feel tight even when nothing is technically wrong? If you've ever felt that tension, like effort and reward aren't lining up, this isn't a personal failure. It's something much deeper. And once you see it clearly, the feeling starts to make a lot more sense. Most people are told a very simple story about money. Work hard. Be responsible. Don't overspend. Save when you can. And if you follow those rules, you'll be fine. So when you do follow them, and still feel behind, the confusion turns inward. You start questioning yourself instead of the system. Maybe I should be doing more. Maybe I'm just bad with money. Maybe everyone else has something figured out that I don't. But the truth is, most people misunderstand what doing everything right actually guarantees. Because responsibility doesn't automatically create relief. Effort doesn't always create momentum. And progress doesn't always feel like progress while it's happening. Feeling broke isn't just about how much money you have. It's about how your expectations interact with your reality. And that gap, between what you think should be happening and what you're actually experiencing, is where the stress lies. Let's slow this down for a moment. Imagine two people earning the same income. Same city. Same rent. Same expenses. One of them feels okay, not rich, but steady. The other feels constantly behind. What's the difference? It's not discipline. It's not intelligence. It's not even choices, most of the time. It's perception. We don't experience money objectively. We experience it emotionally. Your brain doesn't ask, am I making progress compared to last year? It asks, why doesn't this feel easier yet? And that question is shaped by expectations, many of which you didn't consciously choose. One of the biggest reasons people feel broke while doing everything right is that modern financial progress is slow, quiet, and invisible. Think about how progress used to look. You got a raise. You upgraded your life. You felt it immediately. Now, a raise often just fills holes. Higher rent. Higher groceries. Higher insurance. Higher everything. So instead of feeling like you moved forward, you feel like you're in just to stay in place. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means the baseline moved. And when the baseline moves faster than your income, effort stops feeling rewarding, even when it's working. Another piece people underestimate is how delayed financial progress really is. When you start doing things right, the first thing that happens isn't abundance. It's constraint. You stop spending freely. You start saying no. You begin redirecting money away from visible pleasure toward invisible stability. That doesn't feel like progress. It feels like sacrifice. An emergency fund doesn't make life feel better. It makes life feel neutral. Until the moment you need it. Retirement savings don't change your day-to-day life at all. They quietly sit in the background while your present self still feels pressure. So emotionally, your brain thinks nothing is happening. But structurally, everything is changing. That disconnect is exhausting. There's also something else happening, something more psychological. Most adults are measuring their financial health using emotional signals instead of structural ones. If money feels tight, you assume something's wrong. If spending requires thought, you feel broke. If you hesitate before buying something non-essential, you think you're behind. But those feelings don't mean you're failing. They often mean you're being intentional. We've quietly absorbed the idea that comfort equals success, that ease means you're doing well. So when money requires attention, planning, or restraint, it feels like danger, even when it's actually discipline. Now add comparison to this mix. You don't just experience your own finances. You experience everyone else's highlight reel. You see people traveling, upgrading apartments, buying homes, living lives that look smoother than yours. What you don't see is debt, family support, different timelines, different trade-offs. So you assume you're behind when you might just be early. Or cautious. Or building something slower but sturdier. Comparison doesn't just distort reality, it raises your expectations without raising your income. And that gap creates pressure no budget can fix. Another reason people feel broke while doing everything right is that responsibility rarely comes with emotional validation. No one congratulates you for paying bills on time. No one applauds you for not overspending. No one celebrates your consistency. Irresponsibility is loud. Responsibility is quiet. So it feels invisible. And when effort isn't emotionally rewarded, motivation fades, even when the strategy is sound. This is why so many people burn out financially without ever failing. They don't run out of money. They run out of emotional reinforcement. Here's the turning point most people never reach. Feeling broke is often a sign that your financial system is working, just not emotionally optimized. That realization changes everything. Because the goal isn't to feel rich. The goal is to feel secure, flexible, and calm. Wealth, in real life, doesn't announce itself. It doesn't always feel good in the moment. It often feels boring, slow, and slightly uncomfortable. But over time, it creates something far more valuable than excitement. It creates options. And options reduce stress more reliably than income ever will. Once you understand this, you stop asking, "Why don't I feel better yet?" And start asking, "Is this building future ease, even if present ease is limited?" That shift matters. Because it reframes restraint as investment, patience as progress, and calm decision-making as strength, not lack. You begin measuring success differently. Not by how free spending feels, but by how resilient your life is becoming. So what does this look like in real life? It looks like accepting that feeling not rich yet is normal, even when you're on track. It looks like separating emotional discomfort from actual financial danger. It looks like noticing progress that doesn't show up as lifestyle upgrades. Maybe you don't panic when something unexpected happens anymore. Maybe you recover faster from stress. Maybe money occupies less mental space than it used to. Those are wins, even if they don't look impressive online. It also means being honest about timelines. Most financial progress happens quietly for years before it becomes visible. And that doesn't mean you're late. It means the system works slowly by design. Once momentum builds, the feeling changes, not suddenly, but steadily. Pressure eases. Decisions feel lighter. Money stops being an emotional emergency. But that only happens if you don't quit during the phase where it feels pointless. If you're doing everything right and still feel broke, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not missing some secret everyone else knows. You're likely just in the part of the journey where effort hasn't caught up to emotion yet. And that phase is uncomfortable, but temporary. Progress doesn't always feel like progress while it's happening. Sometimes it just feels like patience. And patience, quietly applied, changes everything. So if all you take from this is one thing, let it be this. Feeling broke doesn't mean you're failing. It often means you're building something that hasn't had time to show itself yet. And that's not something to panic about. That's something to protect. Because calm, consistent progress, even when it feels unrewarding, is how financial peace is actually created. Slowly, quietly, and more often than most people realize. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep going. And that is already enough.